Hello, class. It is May 28th for English Grade 12 College. And first of all, short story answers today are due. If you haven't done any of the short story questions, right, there are 4 of them, then you have to get them done now, right? Because if you haven't given them to me by today, then that's a problem. I'm going to give you a 0 for your midterm, and no one wants zeros. If there's some sort of medical issue or anything, you can let me know. But yeah, get those done. They're due today. So, like we were talking about yesterday, today is essay time, right? And we're going to be talking about some essay topics. So, I'm going to be posting this on the website, but let's just look right now. So, like I said, you're going to have your choice of things to talk about for the short stories. Let me just go through the 3 questions first. So we've got, in The Flying Machine, Ray Bradbury wrote the story as an allegory for dangerous new technologies, with the Emperor killing the inventor because he feared his new invention. Are there technologies we should be afraid of now, or is the Emperor's line of thinking inherently foolish? So, you'll notice that question is not asking you to tell me what happened in The Flying Machine. I'm asking you to tell me about technology in our world today, right? So we talked already about how the flying machine can represent nuclear weapons, for instance, right? That's sort of what Ray Bradbury would have been thinking about at the time with his symbolism. So, what we're going to do is write an essay that sort of asks about technology in general, right? And whether there are certain kinds of technology that should not be developed, or if what the Emperor was thinking with killing this inventor is just plain foolishness. So that's what that first essay topic is about. Then you've got this one. In The Maiden Wiser Than the Tsar, we see the Tsar continually threatened, I should have past tense there. Thank you, Google. ED. The maiden's father and the maiden herself. And yet we are told that this couple lives happily ever after. What precisely would be needed for a true happily ever after ending? So, just like the last one, it is essentially a essay where you're going to give your opinion, not about the story, right? I don't want to hear about the maiden and the czar in your answer, but about, well, couples in general. So those of you who are interested in talking about romance stuff and everything like that, you can approach this question and give it a shot, right? So, sort of an ideal couple kind of essay type thing. Then the last one, the Sherlock Holmes stories have been popular for over 100 years, with movie adaptations and TV series constantly being made about Sherlock Holmes. Considering what you know of the series thus far, why do you think that is? So, are those Sherlock Holmes stories so popular? Why do they get talked about for over 100 years? There are plenty of stories about different people, right? Different characters, but Sherlock Holmes has stood that test of time so far. So, considering what you know about Sherlock Holmes, right? You've read 2 short stories so far. Maybe you're even starting the novel. Why do you think people keep going back to Sherlock Holmes? What makes this guy so appealing? So that's question number 3. So you're gonna pick one of these, right? No matter which one you pick, you're picking one, right? So whichever one you like, and you're going to be writing a 5-paragraph essay about that. And let's talk about how to do that. So, let's do an example question here. Let me make this nice and big. There we go. So, example teacher, a question just for me, right? So you guys aren't doing this one. So, just like I talked about today, Dr. Watson rarely contributes to the solution to a mystery in the Sherlock Holmes stories. What is the role that Dr. Watson plays in the Sherlock Holmes stories? Okay, so this is my question, right? And I'm going to write an essay based on the answer to this question. But before you write, before you write your essay, right, you want to pause for a moment and create an outline. Now, outlines are essentially the skeleton of an essay, right? They're your plan, they're your sort of objectives for the essay, right? And the first thing you want to write in an outline is your thesis. Now, as I hope you all know, a thesis is your answer to the question, right? Let me put that over here. Or your main idea, right? Sort of like a topic sentence for the whole essay, right? So it's your answer to the question. Now, your thesis here or my thesis here for Dr. Watson is going to be my basic answer to the question. So I'm going to say the role of Dr. Watson is to represent the reader and serve as a go-between the audience and Sherlock Holmes. Right, so that's going to be my thesis statement, right? So it's my basic answer, right? You'll notice I'm not putting because of this, because of that, right? I'm not putting first of all or anything like that, right? Your thesis should be one sentence, and it should be just your basic answer to the question, all right? So, what I want to do then, after I've got my thesis, is I want to lay out what my paragraphs are going to be, right? Remember, we're not writing an essay yet, right? We're just getting ready to write an essay. So I've got three big ideas here, right? So what this is it's, by the way, is it's called a skeleton essay, right? A skeleton essay outline. So what you do is essentially you think of three of your main points, right? Because remember, it's a 5-paragraph essay. Your first paragraph is going to be your intro paragraph. You're going to have 3 supporting set of paragraphs and a conclusion. So what you want to do is you want to figure out what your ideas are. So my first idea is Watson represents the reader's confusion, right? That's my main idea for my first paragraph in this 5-paragraph essay. So, what I have here is Watson represents the reader's confusion, right? And then I put as bullet points what my evidence of that is. So, when I'm writing these bullet points, right, I'm just trying to say that these are my ideas. I'm not worried about spelling. I'm not worried about transition words. I'm not worried about anything, right? All I'm doing is I'm putting my ideas down. So he thinks that Miles, the student who was angry, was the culprit because he was so mad. He thinks that the Napoleon Smasher was someone obsessed with Napoleon. He's always wrong and gets the reader to think of something besides the real solution. So that's my idea number 1, right? So my first paragraph of my essay is going to be about Watson and the reader's confusion. And then I've got 2 more, right? Idea number 2, Watson is there to ask the questions that the reader has for Holmes, right? Watson asks for the explanation of how Holmes knew it was Gilchrist hiding in the room, or Watson gets Holmes to explain how he knew about the pearl in the statue, and Watson makes it so that Holmes can be super smart, and then his thinking can be explained to normal people, right? So that's my second idea, right? So that's going to be my second body paragraph. And then my third body paragraph, Watson is there to make the reader love Holmes, right? He speaks in glowing terms of Sherlock Holmes, always talking about how amazing a person he is. And I didn't finish this. And he applauds Sherlock when he breaks the Napoleon statue and gets the pearl back, right? So that's another bit that Watson has in his thing, is that he loves Sherlock Holmes, right? He's his very good friend, and because Watson is representing the reader, you as the reader also start to love Sherlock Holmes. So this kind of thing, let me just make it smaller so you can see it all on one page. There we go. So this is an outline, right? It starts with a thesis, which is your main idea, and then you come up with your 3 supporting ideas, right? Your big ideas that you're going to do in your paragraphs, and you find 2 or 3 bullet points for each of them. If you can do this, right, then your essay is already on the right track, right? It's not too hard to put one of these together. the basic template is something like this, right? Where at the top you have your introduction, which is basically your thesis statement. Then you have a topic sentence and some supporting evidence, another topic sentence, supporting elements, and another topic sentence and supporting elements. Don't worry about a conclusion, right? So, the step one to writing this essay, which by the way is going to be due next Friday, right? So you do have some time, is to number one, pick a question, and number two, create an outline just like what I've got right here, right? So you need a thesis and you need your supporting ideas, right? So if you can do that, then it's a very big advantage because all of a sudden you're not, uh, you know, you're not in a situation where you have to think anymore, right? You get all your thinking done at the beginning so that when you write the essay, right, there's no thinking to be done, right? All you have to do is, well, follow the structure. All right, so that's step one, right, is writing an outline. By the way, if you guys want to send me an outline like this before you write an essay and say, hey, what do you think of my thesis or my ideas, that would be a good idea, right? I think that's a solid way to go about things. But nevertheless, if once your outline's finished and you've got everything under control, right, it's time to write the essay, right? And if you've written a good outline, then writing the essay will just be a matter of following a couple of steps. So, the essay starts with an introduction paragraph, right? Where you're going to do three things, right? There are three ingredients that you have to have for your intro paragraph, right? The first is your hook sentence. After that, you've got background sentences. And then third, you need to have a thesis statement. So let's talk about what each of these are. So a hook sentence is your introduction to the topic that you have chosen. So what I've got here, while Sherlock Holmes is the most famous fictional detective of all time, little attention is given to his best friend John Watson, right? So in that first sentence, the reader should be able to figure out what it is I'm going to be talking about in my essay, right? So that first sentence is essential. Oh God, that cat. That first sentence is essentially supposed to be the introduction to the topic, right, that I've chosen, and it's meant to essentially let me know what your question is. So basically, when I see your topic, your hook sentence, I should know which of the questions you've chosen, right? So, you should talk about technology, or you should talk about happily ever after, or you should talk about Sherlock Holmes, right? So I should know what's your question, right? Now, very important, the hook sentence is not your thesis, right? So don't put your thesis as your first sentence, right? No, 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 no. What you do is you put the hook sentence, which just introduces the topic, right? So the question that you're going to be asking, not the thesis itself, all right? So that is very, very important, okay? So, hook sentence, by the way, should be one sentence, right? Only one sentence for your hook sentence. Then it's background sentences, all right? So, let's see what I've got here. Watson is the narrator of almost all of the Sherlock Holmes stories written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and is Sherlock's partner in all of his investigations. However, Dr. Watson is not a very intelligent man and rarely contributes anything to the investigations themselves. Sherlock Holmes himself mocks Watson as a fool. So, the background sentences are very important, right? Because here you need to tell the reader a little bit about your topic, right? So if you're doing the flying machine, you might want to say something about the flying machine, right? You might want to say it's by Ray Bradbury, it's about inventor, and all of that sort of stuff, right? Whereas if you're talking about the Maiden and the Tsar, you might want to say, okay, it's written by Idris Shah, and it's a fairy tale, etc., etc., right? So you want to tell the reader a little bit about your topic, right? Don't summarize the whole story, right? Just give the important details. So you'll notice here, I'm only talking about Watson here, right? So if in my background sentences here, I for some reason were to talk about Lestrade, right, that would make no sense, right? Because that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. So background sentences, by the way, about 3 to 4 sentences in total, right? Just like I've got here, right? 1, 2, and then 3, right? So 3 to 4 sentences is sufficient for your background sentences. So far we've got hook, we've got background. And then, finally, you've got your thesis, right? So I've got it right here. However, in spite of how worthless he may seem, the role of Dr. Watson in the stories is to represent the reader and serve as a go-between the audience and Sherlock Holmes. So you'll notice this is from right there, thesis statement from my outline. I thought of that first, but it lives here at the end of the first paragraph, right? So 2 important things about your thesis is, number 1, it is your answer to the question, right? That's what a thesis is. And very, very important, it is the last sentence of your first paragraph. That's where your thesis is supposed to live. All right, so if your thesis is at the beginning or if it's somewhere else, then something has gone wrong. So, let me just highlight that. I'll put this up, by the way. I'll try to remember. I'm sure Ibrahim will remind me to put it up. Hook background thesis. That is the structure of an intro paragraph, right? So that's what you're meant to do in your essays as well. Now, very important, if you do this, right, what I'm doing here, right, if you do this business, right, that, if you leave spaces between your hook, background, and thesis, then you've ruined your essay, and I'm going to fail you, okay? It's the fastest way to get failed in an essay, at least from me, is to do this to your intro paragraph, right? It is one paragraph. It is all one block, right? It should all be nice and together like this, and the thesis should be the last sentence of your first paragraph. So, in summary for today, make an outline first, right? They don't take too long to make, right? Especially if you know what you're talking about, right? So think of what your thesis is. Start with your thesis always. And then think of 3 big ideas to support it. And then after that, you can start writing the essay with an intro paragraph with hook, background, and thesis. All right, so should I? No, I'll talk about body paragraphs tomorrow, as well as how to cite, right? Because part of this assignment is I need you to look up some sources to back up your ideas, right? You can cite Sherlock Holmes, or the other stories for that matter, or you can cite outside sources. So if you want to talk about, happy couples and you have some sources that you want to bring in for that, then by all means you can do that, but you just have to cite them. So in tomorrow's video, I will be discussing citation and how we do that here in this course. All right, so citation is coming tomorrow. So for now, do you have anything to say? Meow. Sorry for disrupting the class by running around meowing and knocking things over and meowing at the sun. Okay, are you gonna do it again? Yes. No, don't do it again. Oh, okay, I won't. Alright, guys. We will see you all tomorrow, and your midterm marks should be emailed out by then. If there's any delay, it's I'll let you know. But there should be midterm marks tomorrow. All right, guys. So I will see you all then, and thanks so much for watching.